The issue of grooming gangs in the UK is a deeply troubling and sensitive problem that has brought attention to failures in protecting vulnerable children. Grooming gangs are groups of people, often men, who exploit and manipulate young people, usually girls, to abuse them sexually. These crimes have caused immense pain for victims, exposed serious failings in local authorities, and created tensions between communities. Grooming gangs operate by gaining the trust of vulnerable children, often those in difficult situations, such as living in foster care, struggling at home, or facing emotional challenges. These gangs use tactics like flattery, gifts, and promises of love or attention to lure their victims. Once trust is established, the abuse begins, often escalating to threats, violence, and trafficking of the victims to other abusers. Several high-profile cases in towns like Rotherham, Rochdale, and Telford have revealed the horrific extent of grooming gang crimes. Here are some examples of the impact on victims. An independent investigation found that at least 1,400 children in Rotherham were abused over 16 years. Victims were as young as 11. One girl, known as Jessica, in reports, described how she was groomed by older men, given alcohol and drugs, and subjected to repeated assaults. When she reported the abuse to authorities, her claims were ignored. Between 2008 to 2012, a group of men in Rochdale exploited young girls, targeting those in foster care or from troubled families. A victim, Holly, spoke about how she was offered food and money, only to be trapped in a cycle of abuse. She said she felt abandoned when authorities failed to act on her reports. In Telford, reports suggest up to 1,000 children may have been abused over decades. One victim, Lucy, described being threatened with violence if she tried to escape. Her abusers also targeted her family, leaving her too terrified to seek help. One of the most shocking aspects of these cases was how local authorities, police, and social services failed to protect the victims. Many victims reported the abuse but were not believed. Some were even blamed for their situation. Investigations revealed that officials were reluctant to act against the perpetrators, who were predominantly of Pakistani heritage, fearing accusations of racism or harming community relations. This reluctance allowed grooming gangs to operate unchecked for years, leaving victims feeling powerless and abandoned. The grooming gang scandals have caused significant tensions between different communities in the UK. Many people were outraged when they learned about the scale of the abuse and the failures of the authorities. This anger often targeted local councils, the police, and social services for not acting sooner. In many of these cases, the perpetrators were men of Pakistani heritage. While it is important to hold individuals accountable for their actions, some people began to stereotype entire communities, associating them with these crimes. This has caused resentment and fear among British Pakistani communities, who feel unfairly blamed. The grooming gang scandals have been exploited by far-right groups to spread anti-Muslim and anti-immigrant rhetoric. These groups have used the issue to argue against multiculturalism and promote division, often organizing protests in towns affected by the scandals. This has further strained relations between communities. The scandals have created a sense of mistrust between different groups. Victims and their families feel let down by the authorities, while minority communities feel targeted by media coverage and public backlash. After the scandals came to light, the UK government, police, and other organisations took steps to prevent such crimes and Support victims' investigations like the J report in Rotherham expose the full extent of the abuse and recommended changes to improve how authorities respond to such crimes. Laws have been strengthened to tackle child sexual exploitation, and police officers are now trained to better recognize and respond to grooming cases. Efforts have been made to provide more support for victims, including counseling, legal aid, and programs to help them rebuild their lives. Authorities have worked with local communities to improve understanding and encourage the reporting of abuse, regardless of the background of the perpetrators. While progress has been made, there is still more to do to address grooming gangs and their impact. Authorities must ensure that vulnerable children, especially those in foster care or difficult situations, are protected and supported. Officials who ignored or dismissed reports of abuse should face consequences. This would help rebuild public trust. It is crucial to address the crimes without stigmatizing entire communities. Education and open dialogue can help reduce prejudice and promote understanding. Schools, families, and community groups can play a key role in teaching children about grooming and how to seek help if they feel unsafe. The grooming gang scandals are a tragic reminder of the harm that can occur when vulnerable children are not protected, and authorities fail to act. While these crimes have exposed serious flaws in the system, they have also highlighted the importance of holding perpetrators accountable and supporting victims. To move forward, the UK must address these issues with sensitivity and a commitment to justice, ensuring that no child is ever left to suffer in silence again.